This week we are very happy to have Sima Fancy from Ontario Health for our current topics in privacy seminar. Sima spent her career at the intersection of privacy, security, and technology with a specific focus on the emergence of generative and agentic AI. Sima's cross-functional experience in engineering, data privacy, and cybersecurity spans over 2 decades, and she's an internationally recognized advocate for responsible AI practices. Her work focuses on protecting consumer privacy rights and promoting commercial collaborations to drive the development of data privacy and security, preserving AI solutions. Her work includes advising on evolving and emerging technical systems and helping organizations maintain a compliance with ever-evolving privacy, security, and AI laws. So please welcome Sima.
Thank you guys. I mean, everybody here is so super smart. I'm just honored to be able to share a little bit of what I know, and I know some of you guys are amazing. So yeah, my name is Sima. I'm a chemical engineer and a biochemist, and I did a minor in philosophy as well as by way of my background, my educational background. Recently, my latest privacy stint was at Twitter as a privacy engineer before it became X and got laid off by Mr. Musk. So that was quite a ride. And since then, privacy engineering has been just become my passion, and which is what brought me here again. I don't want to talk to you guys, I want to talk with you guys. And what I want to talk about is data journey. So let's dive right in. Specifically, I'm going to talk about data discovery and the life cycle of what that means to protect data, both from cyber and from privacy perspective. So let's start off by talking about a couple of breaches. So have you ever heard of Friend Finder? It's one of those dating apps online, one of the largest privacy breaches that happened in 2016, where compromised data points were usernames, email addresses, passwords. About 412 million data points were compromised. And one of the reasons they were compromised is because the company didn't know what data they had. Common problem, right? Do you guys talk a lot about data management, data life cycles within your studies? Within privacy engineering? Yeah. Okay. Within the cloud infrastructure, private and on-prem based?
Not very specifically.
Right. Okay. Okay, so let's talk about that. So that's one breach. You know, there's a zillion breaches, always in the news. Every day there's something in the news, and every day it's the data splurge that's happening is in the petabytes, not just terabytes, but petabytes of it. And there's some large companies that have exabytes of data. So let's talk about what that means. Why do you think that's happening, first of all? Why are cyber attacks so prevalent? Why are these guys able to access so much data? Anyone? Yeah.
Lack of visibility where data is spread out.
Yeah. Do you remember that interview by Zuckerberg where someone asked him about the data and if he knew where it was, and he actually said, "I don't know. I didn't know where all our data is." Okay, there's a lot about this is before when he was under inspection by Congress and whatnot. Oh, it's so funny when the congressman asked him, "Mr. Zuckerberg, how do you make money?" And all the engineers behind him started laughing, and he's like, "Sir, you sell ads," you know, funny, not funny. And I'll come to as to why I'm telling that story about it on the policy side of things, which is something you guys study too. Yeah, so data discovery is a huge piece. A lot of companies don't know where their data resides. So some of the mixture of where data sits is, I just mentioned, you said you kind of did it or not, cloud infrastructure, right? So AWS, GCP, Azure, blobs. What are some of the other places where data sprawl exists that you think in organizations, even in schools like CMU? From an organizational level, where else is data found other than public cloud? Private clouds? SaaS-based? MongoDB, Databricks, Snowflake, yeah, where else? On-prem. We're still dealing with on-prem problems, right? Especially in the healthcare space. A lot of health companies are still faxing. That's another issue in terms of data leakages. So what happens when you don't know where all your data is residing?
Quick interruption, sorry. We're having some audio issues apparently. When apparently when I was talking, which I think I was just over here, it was okay. But I guess
Where's the mic?
can you? I'm not sure because I thought they were in the ceiling, so I thought they just sort of worked.
Okay, shall I stay here?
Can people on Zoom? Can you hear Simon
I stay
better
here?
now if she stays behind the podium? She's away from microphone.
Where is the microphone? Anybody know where the microphone is?
Yeah,
Is the
I
microphone
thought
doesn't
that
matter.
Okay, it says I guess better if you are currently sort of in this.
By my laptop? Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll try to get that sorted as you continue.
I shall stay put, no problem. Okay, so I'll go back to the point I was making. I'm coming from Toronto, Canada, right? In our country, healthcare is free. That doesn't mean it's great. It just means it's free. And what it means is that essentially every time you use your health card, your data, you are impliedly consenting for the government to have your data and protect your data. And where I'm working, we are the agents to the Ministry of Health, and we house all that data on our cloud infrastructure. And as a privacy engineer there, I am, along with others, managing that data on all three architectures that I talked about, right? One of the biggest reasons that hospitals are being breached all across the world, not just in Canada, is because of the legacy systems that they're sitting on, right? APIs are not being batched up, vulnerabilities are excessive. And also, the point that I want to make is that data is not being discovered. Have you guys talked about data discovery, end-to-end, the discovery lifecycle, and how AI is powering that process? No? Okay, so one of the things that's happening in industry, not just in Canada, but in America as well, is a drive for data discovery, partially because of regulations, GDPR, HIPAA, CPPA, partially also because they are being penalized, right? GDPR is a huge force to reckon with. So a lot of companies are not just doing cloud security now, they're also doing data security. Have you guys heard of a tool called Data Security Posture Management, DSPM? Yeah, CrowdStrike offers this, IBM offers this, a lot of companies are getting on speed with it. Essentially, that tool, along with its sister tool, CSPM, Cloud Security Posture Management, which is protecting the cloud infrastructure, is allowing data security to be implemented. So that's best done when it's AI driven, all right? So essentially what that means is that the minute your data arrives on the cloud and wherever it's sitting, so let's just take AWS, let's take S3 buckets, right? You would deploy your DSPM tool on your S3 buckets. It would have auto classifiers in it, and based on your company's needs, your data would be classified as such, so digital identities, social insurance numbers, credit card numbers, driver's license numbers. Now you're gonna be able to classify it, tag it, and then catalog it accordingly, and eventually map it. Why do you think data mapping is necessary in this exercise?
To analyze which one is critical and which one can be.
In terms of sensitivity, yeah, that's an excellent reason. Another reason, and along the lines of compliance, I'll give you a hint there.
Like if you're accessing data of a protected, let's say European citizen, you need to have more compliance on that. So.
Right. So, for example, say you're the CEO of company XYZ. You're a SaaS-based company. Your data just got exfiltrated in the EU. Your legal comes and says, "Okay, we need to find out what got leaked, how many records, because the EU is going to the court systems in the EU is going to ask you that. How are you going to find it? If you haven't discovered it, classified it, tagged it, and cataloged it, and then you can generate data maps, right? If you can't generate data maps and draw a data lineage from source to end, how are you going to be able to answer the court systems how that data got leaked? What was the map of the leakage? Where did it get exfiltrated? You need to be able to do point in time exfiltration, and also how to remediate them, right? So this can be done two ways. One is the regex-based system, and one is AI-based. What do you think are the benefits of one over the other? Which one's, first of all, which is better, AI or regex? And why?
Regex is a little bit more brittle. AI is a little bit more flexible, but accuracy is so.
Do you think it's the same result at the end of the day between the two of them?
Not necessarily. Yeah.
So
as I said, like
regex is regular expressions, right? So it's going to be limited in how much scanning it can do of each bucket
versus AI, which has the capability of scan each bucket end to end and then be able to classify dynamically. So what that means is when you have classifiers such as sensitive, confidential, restricted, and public data, it's going to be able to learn through its machine learning, and based on the data sets that are coming into your cloud system, it's going to be able to dynamically classify them and then tag and label them. Regex doesn't have that capability. It's more static, right? So my point of today's presentation is that not only should you guys know and learn about data discovery, classification, tagging, and then mapping eventually, but you should learn about it using AI and ML-based tooling. What are some of the other benefits that think you can happen that you guys may not talk about in school in terms of data discovery? That in the industry is a huge, huge topic right now, especially with all the breaches that are happening. When a lot of data is leaked, do you think the company should be hanging on to all that data? Once the leakage happens, you've got 412 million records, you've got 200 petabytes leaked, like all these numbers are thrown around. Why is it always so big? Why is the data that's leaked so big all the time?
Normally everyone just aggregates it at one spot and then just everything is stored at the same cloud or something like that.
Right? So yes, data duplication, right? Data redundancy is an issue. Have you heard of ghost data? Okay, that's a huge term in the industry right now. That is a problem that your big tech in the Valley is contending with. How to discover ghost data and then delete it based on the retention and deletion policies. You guys have a lot of policy work integrating your programs, right? So data retention policies, data deletion policies, data handling and classification policies are three policies that a lot of big tech use aggressively, and then they map that against data discovery process end to end. When ghost data is identified, what privacy principle are you employing when you identify it and then you ask the business units to delete it?
Sorry, could you clarify what ghost data actually is?
Ghost data is redundant data, stale data, data that's unused, data that's forgotten, data that's duplicated, data that's aggregated for no reason, just being kept for years and years, well beyond retention periods of what's allowed, right? Okay, so other than the question I'm asking, imagine how much space it takes. Imagine how much storage costs it piles up for the company. And imagine how much cost savings, cost optimization can happen if you discover the data and classify it as ghost data. The benefits are huge, right? But the question that I was asking was, I'll rephrase it. What's the importance of identifying ghost data from a privacy by design perspective?
You have less chance of leaking sensitive data. Less amount of data you can leak if there's a data breach.
Data minimization? Yeah, exactly. Data minimization. It's a huge, huge push in the industry to practice it, to be able to reduce as much collection, use, and disclosure as possible. So essentially, if you can discover your data, and then if you can identify ghost data and then delete it, what you've done is reduce your data sprawl in your cloud infrastructure, even on private cloud, right? Hence, what you further have done is reduce your vulnerability map, reduce your attack surface. Do you guys see the benefits of it? And this is one of the reasons I chose this topic to talk to you about, is because when I was teaching at Texas A&M and a couple of other schools the last few months, I've noticed that this is one topic within academics that's not covered as much because it's an industry-based problem, right? But it's one that I think schools are going to start teaching a lot of. And I look at you because you're an educator. That's why, no other reason. So I just wanted to bring that process home. And here I start talking about the purpose behind data mapping. It's something that legal departments are asking for a lot, because a lot of times the lawyers who are sitting with the legal department, they're not into the technology piece of it, but they will ask you, the privacy security engineers, okay, we had this breach, we had this massive amount of data that's leaked. Tell us where it happened, how it happened, when it happened. Why do you think they're going to push you so hard for a data map and data lineage, which you, the engineer, are going to have to produce for them on the spot? What's going to drive that question for them?
Perhaps how big the fines are going to be for a violation. If you can't state how much data was extracted, then the court system is going to default to a pessimistic judgment.
Absolutely, 1000% correct. Do you guys study a lot of privacy and security regulations within your program? Or you do policy
I'm not
work?
privacy guy. I'm just here for the kind of the breadth. So I
Okay.
I'll-
Anybody tell me in terms of your curriculum?
Yeah, we do a lot of the regulations.
You do. So you're studying GDPR, right? So one of the things in GDPR, based on a breach that it states, is what's going to ask legal is to tell the court systems once they are alerted. Usually it's the users who say this happened. Really, the onus is on the company. With the minute they discover the breach, they have to inform the public within 30 days, and they have to inform the court systems. But when the court systems come to you, the first thing they're going to ask you is when, why, how. You better be able to answer that ASAP. But if you haven't done this activity of data discovery, you won't be able to answer it, right? And my whole point here is that we need to not only do this, if we're going to hold a lot of data, which is just about every company in the world right now. They're all hosting, think about it, whether it's banks, hospitals, universities, marketing companies, HR companies, everyone's holding on to data. So the onus is on everyone to know what they're holding, where they're holding, how they're holding it. And then, are they doing anything about protecting it, right? So I had briefly mentioned about policies. You guys are discussing policies? Are you working on policies? Drafting of policies as part of your program? No? So what in policy work are you doing?
Something we are reviewing the existing laws and other things, and that's pretty much like we are reviewing it and we are kind of finding situations and applying them, hypothetical situations to what will happen under GDPR or that's the policy.
Okay. What about, do you guys cover at all internal privacy security notices versus external?
We don't explicitly, but we do have a thing where we read privacy policies, the one that's visible on the website, and then analyze it and then come up with all the shortcomings and use fix.
I'm so glad you just mentioned that. Can somebody tell me what's the difference between privacy policy and privacy notice?
Internal versus external.
Which is which?
So a notice is external, a policy is internal.
That's my man. Absolutely. And privacy notices need to be up to date at all times because they're public facing. They need to be in simple English. And that's something I remember Lori Craner talked about in some of the certifications that I've done here. Right now, they're written at a grade 8 level and they go on and on. No one's really reading them. And I know she's working on recipe card versions of privacy notices, which I think is brilliant. I think the industry needs that a lot. So that's the external facing one. Internally, there are privacy policies and also policies. And the three main policies that industry is aggressively working on, so it's engineering and legal usually work on this together along with cloud ops and DevOps. All of them work together on this, and I'm telling you this based on my own industry experience, is deletion policies, retention policies, and data classification and handling policies. So let's take data classification and handling, which is what's driving all of this. If you're going to be compliant with your own company's policies of data classification and handling, we talked about the data classification piece. I've told you how important it is to discover the data and then classify it as sensitive, internal, confidential, public, and then later tag it individually as health data, driver's license, social insurance number, digital identity, blah, 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 on and on and on goes. And there's like hundreds and hundreds of tags that you can put on. Can you please, at least you can guess, tell me what would handling look like? You've done classification, and you've got a policy called data classification and handling, which every big tech company has and requires you, the engineer, to follow. What do you think handling means? And you can Google this and you'll see IBM, CrowdStrikes of the world all have their data classification and handling policies internally. They're constantly updating them. Essentially just what the word means, handle. Handle the data based on the classification that you've given it. If it's sensitive and confidential versus public and internal, those are four main classifiers that are used in the industry. Your sensitive and confidential are of the highest concerns. And those are the ones that you generally want to classify and then tag further. So when we talk about tagging, so say you've classified the information as confidential and sensitive, and now you want to go see what the tagging for that is, and say you got driver's licenses, and you say tagged driver's license. Do you want to know what the license number is? Or do you think it's good enough to say it's driver's license? Good enough to say it's driver's license. You don't want to go see the driver's license number. Because if you do, you're in trouble further, and there's no need for you to do that. Just look at the metadata of the data, right? And that's the benefit of these tools. We take the metadata, and then once you've done that, you want to go catalog it. Can you guys name some cataloging software that's out there that a lot of companies use? Calibra, have you heard of Calibra? No? Okay. I'm strictly speaking from an industry perspective, so based on some of the companies that I've worked for, these are the things that we as privacy and security engineers are working on very, very actively. Calibra, for example, is one data catalog. What it does is takes the metadata that you find from discovering, classifying, and tagging, and then it categorizes it such that different business units can come in and draw analytics from the metadata and never be able to look at the data. Because the minute you look at the data, you've opened up a Pandora's box, and now your responsibilities just proliferate in how you're gonna have to protect it. No need to go to that extent. So we're running a business. We don't wanna handicap our business. So what we do is we catalog the metadata, and then we can draw analytics from it. And then if you are the Twitters, the Facebooks, the Metas of the world, you can draw analytics from the catalog data, and then you can further promote your business, because you got to make money at the end of the day. We're not here to shut businesses down, right? We're here to do the right thing while propagating businesses to be able to move forward. As part of that process, backup of data is really important too. And backup after you have eliminated ghost data. So again, ghost data includes redundant data, stale data, unused data, data that's been sitting around forever. And then you can back up the data, and then you are compliant with those laws as well. It's amazing how important law is in engineering. It's so critical. One of the reasons I love the program here at CMU is that you guys integrate policy and law and the social sciences so seamlessly. It's unusual to see this. Very few universities around the world have this kind of collaboration between all faculties. You've got faculty of comp sci, law, engineering, social sciences coming together. It's beautiful. It's beautiful because one of the things that's driving industries for hiring is looking at engineers who know social sciences and philosophy. So understand why the right thing, what the right thing to do is. In this case, it's data protection and data security. Now, when you do these activities of using AI tooling to do data discovery, you save yourself a lot of time in manually discovering data. Imagine a data breach happened and you didn't have AI tooling and your boss asks you to go find the data that got leaked. Just the manual exercise of it is a nightmare. So you're saving time, you're saving salaries, and you're able to comply with the law immediately. And then if there's a breach, you're able to tell your customers and you're able to put the notices out. We talked about the tagging and the insights already. And of course, unlocking full value of your organization's data, ensuring trust with the public, and essentially enhancing the value that you provide your customers. Can you guys name some companies that have gone down under because they weren't able to do this bit? It's a big one that's just been in the news a lot. Hint, genetic data. Yeah, what happened? Anybody know about 23andMe? You guys are so quiet. You're it. I'm gonna pick on you. You guys have done a lot. Please tell me about 23andMe. First of all, who are they? What's the company?
Don't they tell you like your genetic makeup?
Yeah. So what are you providing them, like, say, just your saliva?
Yeah.
Right? And a lot of people did that, right? So do you know what happened? Okay, so 23andMe collected a shitload of genetic data of people who gave samples left, right, and center. Like I told my family, you people do this, I'm gonna sue you because essentially you link me, right? Because if I give my sample, I've released my parents, my cousins, my uncles, aunts, my children, everyone's information. And that's exactly what happened. 23andMe got breached, big time. Like all their data got released. The cyber criminals that came in took everything. The companies tanked, like done. Within a day, their stocks just plummeted. Anybody who had invested anything, zero. They lost all value. Not to mention they're in a lot of trouble. Another interesting problem has arisen. What about all that data that they are holding? Fine, there's data leaked, but they've got data as well. What do you think they're gonna do with it?
They're gonna be bought out by.
Yeah. No, you're right. They're gonna sell it. And you know what they said in their privacy notices? Just going back to your point on the notice, we will never sell your data. Bullshit. Because now they're in trouble. They've declared bankruptcy. They've got to pay their legal fees. What are they gonna do? They're gonna sell the data. Which means anybody who gave their samples, their genetic information is going to be sold. Because if you can read the law a little bit, there is a provision in their notice and policies that should we go bankrupt, it's all it's all free for all, right? So had they discovered, had they classified, had they tagged and then properly cataloged their data, first of all, the breach would have never happened. Secondly, they wouldn't have lost trust of their customer. And then thirdly, they wouldn't have gone under. I mean, it's a huge, huge problem. And like that, remember what happened to Cambridge Analytica? Anybody know about that case? Same thing, right? How many people were exposed of what they were doing on that site? Yeah, that was a nightmare, wasn't it? This is a nightmare as well. So essentially what I'm saying to you guys is in the program that you're in, it's being taught so well from the perspective of you being philosophers as well, not just technicians and engineers. Do the right thing as you guys slowly get out into the market. Are you all graduating this year? It's a 2-year program, right?
It's 16 months. 1.5.
1.5. Oh, okay. Okay, so it goes by pretty fast. Okay, and a lot of the jobs that the students are getting are in the tech space?
Probably most.
If we get jobs.
If you get jobs. No, the market's gonna be good. It's good here. Compared to Canada, it is at least. Okay, somebody's laughing at me. It's like, this lady doesn't know what she's talking about. Okay, you know what? Let's talk about careers. I mean, if you have any questions for me.
I was actually wondering, how did you go from a chemistry background, I think you mentioned, into privacy?
Okay, yeah, good question. So yeah, my degrees in, 1 degree is in biochemistry, 1 degree is in chemical engineering, and I've got a degree in philosophy as well. Got married really early. Shouldn't have done that. But anyway, that's a side point. And then what happened was that I went into chemical engineering. I did a lot of consulting in ChemEng. So essentially, me and the other engineers, we'd go out to pulp and paper sites, pulp and paper mill sites, gas stations, oil and gas refineries, and we'd just take samples and we'd analyze them. And essentially, we were giving our results to purchasers who were purchasing, say, 1,000 gas stations all across Canada and America. They would hire engineers like us to tell them whether those purchases were viable or not. So I did that for some time, and I used to work a lot with lawyers, and I found their work really intriguing. So I was like, okay, I need to know what's happening in law firms. And my kids started coming along, and I didn't have the luxury to go to law school, so I quit engineering, went into a law firm, and became their scientific legal advisor. I learned a lot about law. I've gone all the way to the Supreme Court of Canada. So, supported a lot of litigation lawyers, and then got bored of that too. We engineers, we can't stay put. We're always moving around because there's so much to learn, and I love learning. And so then what I did was I went into manufacturing engineering, and I ran a pressure-sensitive manufacturing label company. What that means is we produce labels 24/7 for hospitals and labs all across the province that I live in, which is Ontario. So that was really cool. I mean, anytime the machines broke down, I was back there with the guys, my arms covered up in ink just to get the perfect red and the perfect blue, And then I learned how to run a business as well because I had to get credit lines set up. I had to work with bankers and lawyers and whatnot. Got bored again and figured out that this whole thing called data privacy and cybersecurity exists. I was like, what the hell is this? And all of a sudden I got really curious about it and then went to Michigan State University and a whole bunch of other schools, including Carnegie Mellon, and got myself fully certified and got my first job at the Ministry of Health, managing all the health data that I was talking about. And boom, boom, boom. From there, I went to many other companies, including Twitter. And now I'm consulting with some big tech companies here in the US, along with doing some other things in Canada, all within this space. And I'm not going to get bored now. I'm not bored, so I will not be leaving this space. It's amazing. It's amazing. And here what's happening is I'm bringing my legal hat, my engineering hat, my life sciences hat, my philosophy hat. Everything is coming together for me, and I absolutely love it. And so what are my hopes now and ambitions is to be in big tech completely within the privacy and cybersecurity space, and also on the side do guest lecturing that I'm doing, and continue teaching and writing, which is what I love to do. Anyone else along the lines of career building? How is everyone's job search going? Those of you who are searching for jobs. It's tough, eh? Is it so? What are some of the obstacles that you're finding?
I'm in the first semester of privacy engineering, so I'm looking for internships. And my background is in computer science, but I don't love coding, so I'd love to do an internship that's more policy regulation oriented
Yeah.
in privacy versus tech. And there's just not a lot of opportunities out there as far as internships go. Most of
What-
the time, it's mostly like full-time roles.
Yeah.
And even those, they want a certain level of experience. And so that's kind of my biggest hurdle right now. I'm still applying to software engineering, cybersecurity, offensive and red team internships, but I know that's not necessarily what I want to do.
Eventually, and that's okay. The road is not linear. Take what you get and go with it, and then you'll find other channels open up. Just like myself, I started in one place, I've ended up in quite another. I think one of the things that I understood very early on after coming out of engineering was that what I'm going to want is not what's going to happen right away. Eventually I'll get there, but even then, look how I changed my lines, right? So be open and get what you want. Right now, internships are open in a lot of the big tech companies. Go to their sites, companies like Adobe, companies like even X, Meta, all internships are open, but aggressively start applying right now because they will close by early new year. Yeah, no problem. And I'm happy to be connected on LinkedIn with you. If you want me to look over your resume, no problem. I'll do that for you. If you want me to look at, your cover letter, whatever there is, happy to connect. Anyone else with any struggles or questions that you have?
So, as someone who you mentioned just consulting for various companies, do you see any openings, or not specifically openings, but do you see kind of junior positions or people working?
Yeah, I do in the big four. PwC, EY, Deloitte, and KPMG. I'm seeing them. Oh, and some of the others like Accenture as well. Accenture is really good at hiring young people coming out of university in consulting, if that's something that you want to try. And what's beautiful about consulting is you get to work on a multitude of projects, not just in one stream. So you'll do health tech one day, you'll do fintech another day, ed tech, marketing. That's a really cool place to be as well. So they are, yeah. And how's the space on recruitment on campus here? Are companies coming?
I feel like it's more generalized. Like you probably would never see someone hiring for privacy in one of the recruitment, like the career centers, whatever.
Yeah.
So it's always something more soft engineering or some kind of engineering, or you'd never see something just for privacy.
It's
think
still
it's
so
still very
new, right?
niche.
That's why.
Yeah.
How about cybersecurity? Because you guys are learning a lot about that too.
I think you do see some cybersecurity.
Yeah, right? Cybersecurity is a bit of a healthier space than privacy is, but I'm telling you, the two intersects quite a bit. Another space, two spaces that I don't want you guys to eliminate is one is data governance and the other is AI governance. Because data governance is actually the mothership, I call it, and under it are privacy, cybersecurity, cloud ops, DevOps. They all fall underneath it, and policy. Keep your eye out for that too. They're also hiring interns and also fresh grads. A lot of tech companies have grad programs. I don't know if you've heard of them, where they actually take you as fresh young grads and they're able to place you and provide you mentorship. It just requires a lot of work to go looking. And how are you guys on LinkedIn? Is everybody LinkedIn friendly? I know you two are, because, oh, by the way, kudos to you on your article. That was awesome. I hope you don't mind that I called you out on LinkedIn the other day. Yeah, great response for junior. So awesome. So these three actually, are quite prevalent on LinkedIn. That's why I know them. Had they not been, I would have never met them, right? All my jobs have been because of LinkedIn. I kid you not, guys. It's me pinging people and saying, especially because I changed fields so much, it's like, look, I'm not looking for a job, but can I just talk to you and see what you're doing in privacy? Like, I just really want to know, industry-wise, what are you doing? And people love talking about themselves. So it's really cool. And before you know it, they get to know you. And two of my jobs actually ended up that way. It was just a coffee chat. And then they call me back and say, hey, are you still looking? So I really, really want you guys to go aggressive on LinkedIn, okay? And start connecting with people in the space. Do a lot of hashtags like privacy, cybersecurity, data governance, AI governance, privacy engineering. Yeah.
You said that you had went to a few universities and obtained certifications. What certifications, or which were the ones that you
privacy engineering.
Just privacy.
Yeah, both with private vendors and schools. Yeah, absolutely. And now data governance as well, and AI governance, which being the new buzzword. And AI governance and data governance are sister fields because you can't govern if you don't, or you can't AI govern if you don't data govern. And what do I mean by that? Well, all models only run because of the amount of data that's being fed into them. Otherwise, the LLM is useless, right? So you need to govern data for AI governance to be layered on top. So keep that open, keep that channel open. Definitely all your education comes into that field as well. Yeah. Any other career-related questions?
This is one more from me.
Yeah, for sure.
On the topic of certifications, do you think any of the IAPP certifications like CIPT are
Dude, the question next to my heart. I am, okay, so here are my, for you. Here are my volunteer positions that I do. I am an IAPP volunteer for the Toronto chapter. I am the head of Women in Data Governance, which is a worldwide organization for Toronto. I'm a volunteer at Women in AI Ethics, which is why I presented 3 weeks ago at the United Nations and the Canadian Consulate in New York. IAPP, yes, get one certification. Get one from ISC2 on cybersecurity. So here's your package. You've got one privacy, you've got the privacy engineering, get a cybersecurity, and get an AI, and you're done. Do not do any more. Okay? Because you got to work then, right? It's one thing to get education, it's quite another to get industry experience. One of the things that I learned at Texas A&M last week when I was there in engineering was there were quite a few professors who attended my talk, and one of the things they bombarded with me with was how do we teach our kids what's happening in the industry? There's a huge disparity, there's a gap between what you guys are learning from your professors versus some of the things that I'm talking about, like ghost data, like data discovery, data classification. That's not being taught in university yet, that's what's needed in the industry. And hence why you guys didn't have trouble finding those jobs and experiences, right? And what schools need to do, and that's something Texas A&M is going to do a lot, is bring industry leaders in to do more regular talks for you. That's the purpose of this, right? Exactly. And then be able to engage students and connect industry leaders, even if it is just by way of shadowing or volunteering, just so that you can pick some of those nuances up. For example, I threw around a few words like data security posture management tools, cloud security posture management tools like this. There are other tools out there too, which you wouldn't learn in school, but that's what industry wants.
Will you repeat the cybersecurity?
Yeah, ISC and then the number 2. So they have a beginner cybersecurity certification, which is probably going to be easy peasy for you guys, but do it because it's free, number 1. Number 2 is the starting point. Then you can, if you really love it, go to CISPM, which is the next level up. That one you do have to pay for, and it's more rigorous, but get the CC out of the way. And when you're ready to do the privacy one, do the SIP US. Get that one done as well. But don't do more than that. Don't go crazy on certifications. Just 2 or 3 is enough. For the AI one, you can do the AI Gov that, or is it called AI Gov or AIC something? I haven't done it yet. Also offered by the IAPP. It's about 6 months old. A lot of people are getting it, but there are a lot of other vendors who are offering it as well. Just so that you can have that checkbox, and then you can show that off on LinkedIn, and then let the algo pick you up. You'll see how the algorithm picks you up right away, and then start spitting the right jobs at you. It's about training the algorithm on the data you're feeding it. I mean the LinkedIn algorithm, right? Because it's AI-based, it's an AI tool. How you can use it wisely. You are as good as your prompt when you use AI tools. Whether it's Perplexity, whether it's Gemini, whether it's Midjourney, I don't care what you're using, you are as good as the prompt you put in, otherwise it's useless. You know how they always say, oh, AI is gonna replace our jobs? I say bullshit to that. I say you're gonna get replaced by people who know how to use a tool really well. So learn to use the tools really, really well. Be able to learn how to manipulate and prompt really, really well. That's what's gonna set you guys apart. And it doesn't matter which industry you're in, that's a really, really important skill to have. I know I'm asking you to study more after you're already in university. That sucks, but it's true. That's what the industry wants. Again, do not do too many certifications. Spend a lot more time on developing your networks and then connecting with people so that you can get that one job and then move to the next one. Remember, your network equals your net worth. It's huge, huge. You don't have that, you're in trouble. I don't care how many PhDs you have. You're not going to get that ideal job. Okay? One of the big pushes in industry right now is also to hire engineers who've got philosophy under their belt, who've done the economics minor or any of the social sciences, sociology, psychology, because that tells industry leaders that you're thinking about what the right thing to do is, the moral thing to do is. Because traditionally, a lot of engineers, we turn a blind sight to, oh, am I duplicating data? Am I just sticking on my laptop and I'm putting in this cloud and I'm, in this practical? But when you are a philosopher, when you philosophize and philanthropize about it, you stop and you think, like, okay, I can't continue duplicating and aggregating for no reason, right? For example, and then you think about how to instill trust for the company within your client base. I've spoken too much. I need questions. I need dialogue. Any other questions about, yeah?
I have a non-career related question.
Sure.
But like, what is the industry doing about data lineage right now? Like just the...
You're tying it with data mapping. So the software that I've told you about, or so the tooling that I've told you about is able to produce that. And there's a few ways to do it. One is through the security tool. The other is through the cataloging tool. It will produce a lineage and the map.
Oh.
And then you'll be able to provide it on the spot to legal who will demand it. They're the ones who are going to demand it from you. But to do that, you got to do discovery, classification, labeling, tagging. You can't get to that if you haven't done this yet. I know, a lot of people don't understand that. They're like, oh, I want a data map. It's like, yeah, okay. Did you discover your data? Is it tagged? How do you map something that's not tagged, right? So I really, really wanted to bring this point home today so that you guys understand that this is a huge gap in the industry that's been recognized, and that's being driven by regulations and courts. For example, the FTC, when they find out that you are collecting corpus amount of data and you're not protecting it, they will come and shut you down with something called algorithmic disgorgement. Anybody heard of that punitive damage? It's a legal damage, legal tool. So essentially, they will come and they will destroy your algorithm. With that goes all the data that was fed into it. That will also get eliminated. It's a huge loss for companies, huge. Just look it up and just see how many companies have been penalized with it. The Federal Trade Commission is a force to be reckoned with, and a lot of tech companies are now scared. When I was leaving Twitter, there was a lot, and still is, Elon Musk is still fighting the FTC on different consent-related infringements. But anyway, that's not my problem. I don't know how he's dealing with it. I don't want to know. Yeah.
So you said that they will destroy the algorithm. What's stopping them from necessarily recreating that or repeating something similar to that?
I mean, the startup or the company, they can, I guess, redo it, but it's a lot of work, right? A lot of money goes into creating algorithms. Creating one LLM tool takes millions of dollars. Just imagine all the DevOps people that you have to hire to do the coding for it, and then the bug testing and the running of it, and then you have to buy data. Then you've got to train. Imagine the number of tokens you're constantly refining and the networkings you're making tighter and tighter, right? It's a lot of money that goes into doing this. They come and on the spot, boom, gone. So companies are now getting really worried because it's actually happening. But AI is a huge piece for you guys. Incorporate it in any which way you can. It's really exciting. I mean, to me, whenever anybody says, oh my God, it's such a bad thing. How are we going to survive as humanity? I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? If I give you a knife right now, what are you going to do with it? I'm going to cut fruit with it. Yeah, you can do that. You could also hurt somebody with it. It's still a tool. It's a good tool. It's a bad tool. Same thing with AI. It's a great tool, I think. Just use it wisely, but educate yourself on it. That's what I'm telling people out there. Like, I don't get it. I don't get there's to be afraid of in that sense. It's with any other tool that humanity has come across. It's just this one is prolific. This one is quite significant in what it can do and how it can be used. But bad guys have always been there. They've always learned how to do things with any tool out there, right? That's nothing new. But my plea to you guys is make sure you incorporate learnings of all AI tools, Gen AI, that you are exposed to. Keep up with it. So what are some of the tools that you guys are using? What's on your phones? What's on your laptop? Who's using what? Chat. I'd like you to move up, please. I will recommend a few to you. How about you? What are you using? Okay. Perplexity, please. Okay, please and thank you. Why? Why am I saying Perplexity over all the others? It gives you all the sources. And I've been using it for a while and I've validated those sources. They're all correct. It actually footnotes everything for you so that if you're say writing a paper and whatnot, you can go and validate the facts. If there's no hallucination and confabulation then, which Chat does a lot. Gemini also does a lot. Oh my God, it makes so many mistakes. So far, Perplexity has been really good. We don't have Claude in Canada, so I haven't been able to use it. I don't know if you guys use Claude, so I can't speak to it, whether it's clear or not. But yeah, how about for text to images? What are you guys using? Or you don't really have to, right? Like the Midjourneys of the world, you're not using it as much. Okay, yeah. I have a lot of fun with it, especially when I want to create slides and I need artwork. So
Recommendations? Midjourney.
Midjourney, I still like Midjourney. Yeah, Midjourney's pretty good. I know there's a lot out there, but yeah, that's really good. Yeah, so that's what I wanted to talk to you about. And I flew all the way from Toronto just to do that. Because I love it and I love just teaching.
Any other quick questions, just while we're right at the end of the hour here?
Yeah, and like I said, I'm flying out, but that doesn't mean you can't contact me. I'm on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Yash knows.
Yeah.
I bug him all the time on LinkedIn.
All right, thanks, everyone.
Yeah, so I'm the only Sima fancy on LinkedIn. So it's easy to find me.
Great, let's thank the speaker again.
Thank you guys. Really appreciate it.